Hi, fourth graders. We're continuing Chapter 8 review on page 337. If you took a break or if you haven't, whatever, we stopped on the first video right here because this was the easy part. These are a little bit tougher, so I wanted to spend a little bit more time with it. If you don't need this practice, then feel free to go on, but if you're not sure how to deal with these kinds of multiplications when we have a mixed number, then let's stick with it and figure it out. We know we can't just multiply. We have to change this to a fraction before we can multiply. So the thing that some of you, I think, are struggling with, a couple of you have let me know that you were struggling with, is changing this to a fraction. And it's been a little while since we did it. It was a little bit before we got out of school, and then we've been out for couple weeks, and it's probably not fresh in your memory. So let's look at this. To change this to a fraction, we multiply, we kind of do a circle. We multiply the denominator times the whole number. And what is 8 times 1? It's 8. Then we continue our circle, except this time we add. So we multiply first, then we add. We multiply 8 times 1, and then we add this little guy. 8 times 1 is 8, plus 1 is 9. So we make the circle complete by writing that over on this side. 1 1/8 then turns into 9/8. Then we can multiply, because now our problem doesn't really say 3 times 1 1/8, because we changed the 1 1/8 to 9/8. Now it really says 3 times 9/8. Again, this part has been replaced with a fraction, so we can multiply. We know from the top of the page and from what we've practiced, the denominator stays the same, and we multiply the numerator. So 3 times 9, 27. The complication with this kind is we have to go back again to our mixed number, because we can't leave our answer looking like this. So we have to kind of do what we just did here, except backwards. We've got to take the 27/8 and we have to move it where there's now a mixed number. So what we do here is we go around kind of again and we say, how many, well, yeah, I could go backwards, but how many 8s are in 27? 8 times what equals 27? So we're kind of dividing here. 8 times what equals 27? Well, nothing, right? But we can get close. 8 times 3 is close because it's 24. I think that I will do it this way to not confuse you. We did half the circle this way. Let's continue our circle this way. We're saying 27 divided by 8, and we said that was 3. So what is 8 times 3? It's 24, right? So the next part of our circle, and I'm just going to rewrite this. I'm afraid it's going to be confusing that way. So we had, let's do 27/8 and just start rewriting it and go through that again. We multiplied and added to change it to a fraction. Now we're going to divide. So we start at the top because division's backwards from multiplication. We say we're dividing 27 by 8. So we said how many 8s get close to 27 is 3. Well, that's 24, right? 3 times 8 is 24. So when we divide 27 by 8, we got 3. That is 24. We have to take the 24 now, because remember we multiplied and added here. Now we're dividing and subtracting. We have to take the 27 away from the 24, and that leaves 3. The denominator always stays the same. So our answer then is 3 3/8. So I'm going to put another piece of paper here. Sorry, it may fade out while I'm doing that, so that we have room to kind of really work over this next problem. 2 times 2 1/5. We know we have to change this to a fraction before we can even multiply. So let's do that right down here. 2 1/5 has to change to a fraction. It can't have a whole number. So we're going to start out by multiplying. 5 times 2 is 10, right? And then as we continue our circle around, we've got another number here. This time we add, because remember, multiplication is repeated addition, so they go together. 5 times 2 is 10, and 10 plus 1 is 11. So we have 11/5. All we did was change this to 11/5. We haven't done the rest of the problem yet, have we? We haven't come close to our answer yet. But we did get this changed to 11/5. So now we can multiply our problem. Now it looks like this. There's our whole number 2. There's our multiplication sign. And now we have 11/5. This is the easy part. 5 stays the same. 2 times 11 is 22. So then we can't just put that answer down either, because we have to write it as a mixed number. And that guy's not a mixed number. So we have to change this back. That's the reason these get a little complicated, is we have to keep track of the step, step, step. Change it to a fraction, multiply, change it back to a mixed number. When we change it back to a mixed number, we're going to do the opposite of what we did here. Multiplied and added on this circle. Now, we started at the bottom here. Now we're going to start at the top, and we're going to divide. So, what is 22 divided by 5? Or how many 5s are in 22? Of course, remember, we studied division way earlier this year, and you know that when we divide, 5 won't go exactly into 22, but we still divide because we see how close. So while I was talking, did you figure out how many 5s are in 22? 22 divided by 5 is 4, right? So that's our whole number. We can take that whole number out. What is 4 times 5? It's 20, right? So we have to subtract the 20, because divide and subtract go together. We have to subtract this 20 away from the 22. 22 minus 20 is 2/4. So we have 4 2/4. Okay, hopefully we'll have time on this video to do one more. These are a little more complicated, so they take a little bit of time. We have 8 times 1 3/5. So instantly I hope you're thinking, okay, the first thing I have to do is change it to a fraction. So we put 1 3/5. We have to make it a fraction. We know the 5 is going to be there in the denominator. That's the easy part. Now we are changing it to a fraction, so we're going to multiply. 5 times 1 is 5 right now, plus, that's a plus sign, 5 plus 3 is 8. Multiplying, adding, working our way right around. So now we have changed this to 8/5. We can actually do the problem. That's step 2. 8/5 is now our new fraction. So it says 8 8/5. Let's do that. 5 is at the denominator. 8 times 8 is 64. Not our answer yet, because there's 3 things to do. Number 1, change it to a fraction instead of a mixed number. Number 2, actually do our multiplying now that it's a fraction. Number 3, change it back to a mixed number. So we start with this guy, and since we're going backwards now, we're not multiplying and adding, we're dividing. So we go this direction, we divide. 5 times what gets close to 64? You know this, it's part of your multiplication facts. 5 times 12, right? What is 5 times 12? 5 times 12 is 60, right? We know it went 12 times, so that gives us our whole number. We know that this means, since 5 will go into this 12 times, that our subtraction part is going to be 5 12s with 60. So 64 minus 60 leaves us what fits in the numerator side. So we have our division and subtraction on this part. And now we've done 1, and 2, and 3, we can put our answer down. All right, kiddos. Please work on the practice page. If you need to go back into your book or back to this video, please do so. Check it out, and it will help you understand. Bye.